whistling.
How long are you going to be on the opening?
With the shape that my body's in, you could donate my body to science fiction. What in the hell? I always wanted to be like one of the doctors at the ER when one of these tournaments was going on.
Oh well,
What?
yeah. We sent two people at Infectious New York this year. We sent two people to the hospital. When the second person showed up, they were like, "Oh, did you come from the sword tournament?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yes."
They were doing that to us at the Collin County Hospital because, you know.
For
so
SoCal?
It was Jonathan Diaz was there getting checked in to get his finger stitched up, and the nurse, the triage nurse, was checking him in. Shouts over, "How many more are you going to send over here?" No. Said, "No, you got it, lady."
Hopefully, no more.
Hopefully, no more.
You.
That was a really nice-looking group of people over there.
Which one?
The audience.
Oh, the crowd.
Yeah,
That is a lovely. That's
it's a good crowd. good tournament. It has been a good tournament already.
It is Saturday, right?
Yes. Holy crap. Cool.
5 pages. Some things are live, some things are not. So you'll just be listening to see what's coming up, right? Need to hide that.
Have everything in one folder. In one folder. I don't understand.
Page 1, Jake's copy. Page 1, Josh's.
Oh, okay.
But now you're Jake, I guess, for a second. Got that wiped out? So.
Yeah, we'll work. Okay.
So these other events, he's doing packages for the other events?
He should have that. I emailed that to him. Any questions?
Do we have any little bios on anybody, or what do we, as far as the cutters?
That's as much as you have.
As the cutters, you can.
I've got that information.
You nailed it. You got
Yep,
this?
it's in my head.
Yeah.
I've got it all.
I was gonna say. You can absolutely comment on what's going on, but don't say, oh well, and
Right. So we don't say who wins. We just say.
Yep.
Look at this technique.
Look at this
da-da-da.
great technique.
Yep.
I click off the sign. Okay.
Yeah, you comment, but you have the results.
Ben.
But no one else does.
Roll time. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I am done commentating after cutting, turn my mic off or wait for you to kill me?
Okay, so to summarize, that's first, second,
Wait for
third,
the kill you,
fourth.
then turn the mic off.
Great.
End of, well, when, yeah, as you know, when cutting finishes, and they announce,
So when so at the end of the day, everything is said and done with this. Then we just say.
congratulations to,
Good guess, right? So I got.
All right, guys, we're getting ready to start.
Turn off your titles. The titles are showing. The menu.
No clue. Toussaint? Looks like Toussaint. Looks like Toussaint.
Toussaint it is.
If we're pronouncing it like we're French, it's Toussaint. Toussaint. He's not American, so I'm assuming it's going to be pronounced correctly.
This is a man from Canada.
Yeah. Canadian.
Sorry. I'm American. That's how we say it.
American. Wittegren. Yep. Michael Wittegren. Yep. Any other questions?
Yes. We still do name some Consmo.
Christine Consmo.
Stanton, Ringen, Dennis, Grandy, Frisbee, Anderson, Peterson, Grandy, Rokinen?
Christian Rokinen. Rokinen. Elaisa Keskinen. Yep. Yep. No clue. All right, guys, we're getting ready to start. Ho, ho, ho.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the finals for Longpoint 2015. Longpoint this year is the largest historical European martial arts tournament in the Western Hemisphere. We have over 200 fighters competing across 7 disciplines and over a dozen various forms of competition today. Tonight, we will see the finals for 8 of these competitions, being cutting, parrot technique, Ringen, thank you, parrot technique Ringen, Rapier, an armored passage passage at arms, sword and buckler, the women's longsword, and the open longsword. I now pass the microphone to Mr. Michael Edison to introduce cutting and the cutting contestants.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
So, our first tournament is going to be cutting. Now, just in case not everyone is familiar with what that's all about, most of the weekend you've seen people hitting each other with blunt swords, right? And some of you may have wondered, how do we know that just because the sword made contact, even if it was strong, that actually accomplished anything? If you watch a lot of television, you might think that swords are very easy to use. That if you just swing one at someone and you hit them, and you're going to kind of hack off their arm or their leg. In reality, that's not how it works. In reality, it's actually very difficult to cut into a human being with a sword. And believe it or not, one of the most challenging aspects of that is getting through the person's clothing. Okay? That's because in medieval times, people didn't wear t-shirts and jeans. Right? In medieval times, people wore several layers of really strong, well-made cloth. Unlike today, where sweatshops, they crank out these t-shirts. Now, people did a very good job of making sturdy clothing that was supposed to last a very long time, and it was because it was cold, some of them wore multiple layers, so it was not easy to penetrate this clothing. Even if you do that, to get through bone or into a lot of flesh and to pull your sword out successfully is very challenging. If anyone's ever worked at a butcher shop, okay, then you know what that's all about. So the cutting tournament tests participants' ability to use a real sword against targets that, while not simulating anything specific, provide enough resistance and enough consistency to give us as judges feedback as to the ability of participants or various aspects of that ability, like follow-through, structure, speed, edge alignment, control, etc. So throughout the cutting tournament, we tested all of those characteristics and we found the 4 best people. Okay, and these 4 people are finalists, and they're going to compete in a number of cutting feats, which I'll talk about in a second. First, I want to introduce the finalists. I'll just tell you their names. They're all hiding behind the wall. Is Mr. Jake Norwood.
DJ Norwood.
Bill Brandy of the Virginia County. Justin Reagan of the Redlands Fencing Center. John Bukowski of the New York Historical Fencing Association. He's our last year's champion, and the year before that.
And the year before that.
Okay, so the tournament consists of a number of cutting feats. 2 of them were done off camera, and the only one I want to talk about is so this is a sample or a piece of historical textile armor, which was considered sword-proof. Okay, this one consists of 30 layers of heavy linen. Okay, and the first time we did this, we just took 30 layers of normal linen, and everyone got through it, or almost everyone got through it. And Jess Finley, who's our historical clothing expert, said, "No, that's not right. If it was done properly, then you wouldn't get through it." So we're like, "All right, make us some good stuff." So at Factual New York, she made us 15 layers of properly quilted historical linen. Everybody got through it. Okay, and she was upset. She's like, "No, we need more linen." So this is 30 layers of historical linen, and this represents the most, pretty much, that anyone would ever have, because you can see it's very, very poofy, right? So some of them were 10 layers, some were 15 layers. 2 of our finalists got through 15 or more layers, and those are Dustin Reagan with 16 and Jake Norwood with 15. Okay. One of our finalists, Sean, got through 10 layers, and the other one didn't do that well, but things happen. Okay, so the feats that we have remaining are the moving target, where they're going to chase this target around, representing their ability to use a real sword while moving quickly and chasing a moving opponent. The short stroke cut, where they're going to have to deliver a cut and sever a target between those 2 poles, so they're delivering their ability to use their body to generate massive amounts of power in a very small space. And then the final feat is going to be stacked targets, where we have double roll targets, 4 layers high. And what that does is it simulates a cut into a dense object, such as a human torso. Sorry to be grim, but that's what swords do. And that tests their control and follow through. What we want to see is a straight cut. If something like their technique is off, it's going to start drifting. Okay, and that's bad because it'll get stuck in the body, maybe take a set, and the sword will bend, and then you won't be able to get it out. So we're looking for a nice straight cut as deep as possible. Okay, so without further ado, we'll begin.
Great, and we're getting ready for cutting. I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And also, what is the point? If you can't cut, then
Yeah, absolutely.
the
And
reality situation.
Yeah,
I've done this. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's terrifies me.
And they're moving at a slightly faster speed than they moved last year. A little bit more zigzag.
Fight Schools New York's reverse run competition. So scissors have nothing on this.
Oh yeah, no, this is amazing. If you actually look through past videos, one of the coolest things I've ever seen, Dustin Ringen at Effectual New York last year did a Sturzow to start it.
Nice.
And did a Sturzow overhaul and had 2 cuts before.
He's been doing some amazing cuts online on his channel,
who do we
his
have?
YouTube channel.
Oh, this is Bill Grandy. Bill Grandy is the head of historical fencing at Virginia Academy of Fencing. And they're going to give it at the go. They're going to start.
Ready? Ready? Are you ready? Bill? Target, move.
4. Oh, 3 cuts. That's pretty good. That's booking.
Yeah.
That's really good, Bill. Good job.
I mean, part of this feat is the idea that you have obstacles that are going to be coming at you. The reality of this tatami falling at your feet to take you out. I mean, this is turf terrain that you'll be working on actually in a duel. So
Absolutely. And you know, if there's a tiebreaker in this one, they have to do this going backwards.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Back to back.
Yes, if there's a tiebreak on this, they count number of successful cuts.
That is a terrifying thing.
It's terrifying. You have to, because those guys are moving. You are backing up and cutting. Another important thing about this, you are not allowed to do the same cut twice.
Correct.
So if you cut, like for example, a right Oberhau, your next cut cannot be a right Oberhau. It can be a left Oberhau or an Unterhau or middle Hau, but it cannot be. You cannot do the same cut twice in a row.
I believe the captain is the one that got his
yeah.
super windmill.
There was a.
Here comes Dustin Ringen of Redlands Fencing School.
Yeah, Dustin, phenomenal cutter.
Once again, just amazing things he's doing on his YouTube channel, Kevin.
Oh yeah, those last couple videos he posted on his YouTube channel are amazing.
As soon as you say move, are you ready? Target, move.
Oh.
Very tough break for Dustin Ringen.
But I mean, the degree of difficulty on that particular cut is it's amazing.
Incredibly hard. That was one of those. Another important thing that this cutting tournament is testing is actually the ability for you to sharpen your own sword, because this is a bring your own sword cutting tournament. There's not a loaner that you can use, so you are required. Yeah, you are sort of required to make sure that you can sharpen a sword accurately, sharpen a sword well, which is actually really not that easy.
It's
a very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do.
It's exceptionally
I cannot do it.
All
All right, we're getting ready.
Capital Christian active.
He kept a long time. Good call.
I told you.
Target, move.
5, 6. Oh, 5 cuts. Woo.
5.5. Very nicely done. Very nicely
Really
done.
good. That's really good.
It's difficult when you watch that tatami. If you get a first flub, you can still retaliate. You can keep going. But I mean, it's a head game. At that point, you're thinking, oh my God, this thing is going over.
Yeah. I mean, these feats are not jokes. These are very difficult. It's a phenomenal test of your ability to move.
I remember my first middle how cut, and just baseball batted the entire tatami. I was like,
I did too.
just a useless individual, you know.
I remember the first time I ever cut Swearhow, I was so terrified that I was gonna throw the sword out of my hands.
The helicopter blade, flying off the edge.
I think I hit almost flat.
Nice.
just stand flying.
Take it out, exactly.
It was like cutting like a training session like 2 years ago. I was absolutely terrified. Just SWAT.
Yeah, it does happen.
About that. So now we're getting set up, and the last person to go is going to be Tristan Zukowski, who the current 3-time reigning Longpoint cutting champion.
He is
from
the
New York.
master.
He's my teacher.
Yes.
He taught me everything I know about swords. He's a great individual.
Oh, great fighter. Love fighting Tristan. He actually has my number quite often.
Yeah, mine too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's getting ready to begin.
Are you ready? Right. Target, move.
Woo! Nice. Good. Very well done. Very well done.
Yeah. So yeah, all these competitors have their own swords. I'll take care of them. They have all been maintaining them for the most part years. I think all these four swords that they were using they've been working for years, and now we are getting set up for the next feat. I'm actually not sure what the next feat is. But that was good. I think Jake got 4 cuts. It might have been a penalty because it looked like he also cut the peg, which is not allowed in cutting competitions. There's a peg coming out from the stand that the tatami is spiked onto, and it looked like he actually cut the peg with his last one, which is a no-no.
It's dangerous even to hit the peg. Swords can be damaged. You know, it's
not very often our swords can be damaged. 90% of your tournament swords are going to be significantly harder than the oak pegs that we use. So but there are other concerns. Typically when you spike tatami, you actually set that bottom rubber band right at the level of the top.
The level of the top.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like they're setting up the shortcut, which is your ability to demonstrate power and cutting ability, power and speed in a very short period of time. You're going to see 2 poles set up. Your sword has to be within the poles, and you can hit the pole on the far side, but you cannot take a quote-unquote significant chunk out of it. This is really hard, but this is something you see in tournament fights all the time. You see these little taps that fencers do. This is proving that those you actually can. They are a very, very valid technique if you know what you're doing.
We'll also test the fencer's ability to cut without needing to wind up the sword.
Absolutely.
And demonstrating that idea of the sword movement.
All right, so we have Bill Grandy coming up for shortcuts. Ooh, that was really good. Almost all the way through. And you only get 2 shots. If you don't make it through with 2, you're done. However, if you do make more than 2, you can continue on for 2 more, and they count as for bonus points. And in case of a tiebreak, yeah, this is incredibly hard. You also see a lot of different swords. Tend to be a little bit better. Longer handles allow people to get a little bit more leverage
For this particular application,
yeah,
the longer handle.
it depends on how you fence. A lot of people fence differently. Like the people, cutters like Tristan and Jake have their hands really close together, so a long handle doesn't really benefit them. But other people who cut like Dustin, the longer handle has it, his grip is going to be wider, and it's going to be a very different dynamic of cutting. It makes something much harder.
Excellent cut. Excellent cut.
Watch what he's doing with his feet. He's using it to engage his hips.
Great.
Man, that's...
These will be the bonus cuts you referred to.
And it keeps getting harder the further down you get. Very, very impressive. That is so unbelievable.
As far as the quality of the cut, what you're looking for here, Tommy,
Yep.
it's a great shot. Why don't you cover some of that idea?
What we're looking for is integrate feedback tool. A 45-degree cut is the goal because we set that so that by preferring a 45-degree cut, that's testing accuracy and that's testing angle, which is all something that is important when you're cutting. Yeah, it's. And that I'm just so blown away by that cut. I'm actually a little speechless because that was so impressive.
The first cut.
Holy crap!
Very impressive.
And the first cut was steep, which means that was a lot harder to do.
Yes, it was. There was a lot of tatami to go through.
Oh man, yeah. It's Jake is also a beast at this.
None.
Perfect. Almost
I believe
45. Almost
the
45
rubber
degrees.
band is the only thing that's really not cut up.
Oh, no, it's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah, and you are allowed to touch the tatami on this one to straighten it.
Gotcha.
That is allowed with this feat. Ooh. Third time's a charm. Oh, like I said, it gets a lot harder when you're that much closer. Ooh, that was still really
Obviously,
good.
your target decreases.
And you know, it's actually, I don't know, maybe it's psychological, but it's also harder to extend your body out at power below the level of
The
your
hips
shoulders.
and okay.
So it's, you know, your body has to adapt to being able to power from a different angle. All right, next up we have Tristan, who's the head instructor at the Manhattan branch of the New York Historical Fencing Association.
And the returning champion for the cutting.
Yes, he is.
Several returns.
Yeah, he's won a couple. He's a pretty good cutter. He's a pretty good cutter.
I've heard that about him.
Yeah.
Can't
Correct.
shave worth anything.
I
but
know.
He's a good cutter.
We have to get a different mat. So this is something that's really nice. Is that if they don't like if the people who are spiking that don't like the mat, they are not taking any chances. They want to give everyone an equal shot. These tatami mats have been soaking. Yeah, that has a good
Solid set.
a good thunky sound. Yeah.
Begin when ready.
All right, he's coming up. So they're letting him clean it up a little bit.
Readjust.
Yeah. And that cut was so loaded. This is going to be a lot harder to get through on the other side. Nice. Well done.
Good recovery. Very good recovery.
Only gets two. Oh, they're going to let him have a third. He's lowering his center of gravity. Oh, so good. Wow.
About 3/4 of the way through on that one.
That's still.
Yeah, an impressive cut. Hard to do.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, so now they're going to be setting up for the next feat, which I believe is going to be the dense target cut. So they should be bringing out a stand that is going to be, I believe, 4 double wrapped or double rolls of tatami stacked on top of each other. The dense target is, like Mike was saying earlier, it's a target, it's sort of testing your ability to cut and penetrate a dense target, like, you know, for instance, someone's shoulder. It's testing a number of things. It's testing hand strength, but also testing evenness of your hands. If one hand is, you know, pushing or pulling in the wrong kind of direction, it's going to twist the blade and can even give the blade a set as you're doing this. Like, it's
As you're entering the target.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like this is sort of simulating. You know, while they're going to do a vertical cut. Like, for instance, if you were to cut someone, you know, from up into the upper opening, you know, if your hands are not even, if one hand is pulling and one hand is pushing in the wrong way, and they're not nice and strong, you're going to twist the sword, and that not only does it make the sword hard to withdraw from your opponent, it actually can really damage the sword. Which is another reason that this is a bring your own sword tournament.
Very much so.
We have never had, since Mike has been doing these cutting feats, we have never had a sword take a set. We came close. We had one get a little bendy at Evacuation New York 2014. One, you could see it in this, actually in the feat that they're setting up. You see the sword bend as it was cut. I don't remember who the cutter was at this point in time. But yeah, here they're bringing out the stand. So it's 4 double rolls of tatami that they're setting up.
And this will be an
Each-
Oberhau, just straight on the target.
Yep, just a vertical cut down. Each fencer has their own section marked that they have to cut in. So this is also, you know, helping to
And you aim.
set accuracy. You know, there are going to be little lines up there that they're supposed to use. And up first is going to be Bill Grandy. And that's Pat O'Neill and Chris DeMeo of the New York Historical Fencing Association helping out with all this stuff. They did a lot of work helping out with this cutting tournament, especially lots of mat spiking.
I believe Chris is the official.
Yeah, he's the official mat spiker.
For
right,
New York.
And you are allowed to come up and measure your distance on this cut. Ooh, it's good. It's really good. No bend. And then we'll measure how far that went into the top roll and then the second roll. Because I'll be willing to bet like he got into the second roll on the back.
On the edge.
As you can see, the little bit of drawing
Yeah.
action that he had with his cut.
Up in the batter's box is Dustin Ringen.
Yeah. Here's Dustin. He's going to get a little bit of a head start on it.
You can see a lot of variation in the styles.
Ooh.
Now, that being said, what do you feel about the variations in the stances, the preparatory
You know, it's all about
approach?
Like, so let's look at what Dustin does. Dustin is probably the best fencer, I'll say fencer, I've ever seen at getting their hips to engage. I mean, his footwork is, if you've ever seen him fight, and you will see him fight later in longsword. He's in the finals for open steel. His footwork is phenomenal, and he's so good at engaging his hips because he also he's not a large man, but he's able to generate immense power because of the way he's able to engage his hips. And he's also immensely strong.
Very much so.
You know, and so what he does is he's allowing his hip and his core to generate all this power that he then puts up into his arms and perform a cut like that. I mean, he went clean through that top roll and probably significantly into the second.
He put it on there. that was a great cut.
Yeah.
So they're going to switch the mats.
Yep, that's actually really helpful because when a mat is severed like that, it's actually going to behave a little bit differently when you're performing this kind of cut. So this is a really smart thing that they're doing by changing over the mats. They've already written down how far people did, how well people did. So they have that information. So now this allows for Jake and Tristan to get sort of
A fair
not a
shake.
disadvantage of an actual severed piece.
Right, because if a mat doesn't have the resistance as you cut into it, it wobbles in strange directions.
Exactly.
And you change the dynamic of the cut.
And if there's just a small, a small or medium-sized cut in the mat, it actually doesn't change the structure of it that much in this type of cut. A tiny bit, but not really enough.
But a full cleave will.
Yeah, that
change.
one absolutely. In the event that someone actually makes it through more than two, which I believe happened a couple years ago.
I believe in New York.
And I believe it was this
Didn't
same
someone
gentleman.
get through,
I'm pretty sure Jake made it pretty far. We're going to hear that Jake Moore would yell, I bet.
Very well tailored suit.
It looks good.
Pretty far into the second
It's
mat.
pretty good, and it's nice and straight. See what we're talking about? Like, he definitely got well into to that second mat on the back
On
side.
the back side of the blade, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so now Tristan's going to come out, and he's going to come out. They're telling him where he cuts. And yeah, they're because they swapped out the mats, they're going to want him to cut on the left side. Yeah, cut. We'll see where he cuts. There's a lot of sort of like psyching yourself up for this. Oh yeah, Mike's going to show him exactly where to cut. Great.
And Tristan is not a large fighter, but
No,
very
and-
athletic, and just his technique is exceptionally solid.
Yeah, he's really quick and wiry. Good cut. Really good.
Now, in regards to that overhead strike, is there any advantage in creating kind of an elliptical to create a draw, pulling through the target, or is this mainly just...
Absolutely, there is absolutely an advantage to drawing that cut a little bit. And you saw when Tristan came up and measured his sort of distances where one, he was a little bit farther in on the sword than what most people would call, where the center percussion is, where the best striking area is.
The sweet spot, if you
yeah,
will.
and that'll, it's that part of the sword is going to be moving slower, but it's going to have a little bit more beef behind it, and what that's going to do as he draws that cut, he's going to allow the force of the sword to come down and try and shear through as many layers of tatami as possible. That was really impressive. That might be the best I've ever seen Tristan do that cut. Right. So I believe we are going to be setting up to show the footage of. Are we going to show the footage of the other cuts now? Or what do we do? Right. So Mike and Ben are gonna sort of. Mike's gonna come talk to you. That'll make it really easy for everybody. Mike's gonna come talk to you and talk about some of the earlier feats, because we didn't do all of the parts of the cutting final live in order to help save time on the live stream.
Right.
So because let's be honest, live streams can get a little long at times. So we're trying to cut it out. We're trying to do everything this year, Longpoint2015, and one of the ways we were doing that was it looks like Mike is actually counting the layers of tatami, and we have some footage that we will look at. Yeah, so Mike and Ben are calculating the scores again. What you're seeing, like all four of those guys cut really, really well. And there was a stipulation that this has to be a vertical cut through the tatami. You couldn't come at an angle. Just setting that parameter just sort of makes it one more element that you have to test, because you can watch this, make sure the sword doesn't turn any way or the other. It looks like Mike is going to come out and make an announcement. No, he's going to get the microphone.
Can I have the finalists here, please?
All right. Looks like he's actually going to announce.
Cutting finalists.
All right, they're bringing all the finals out.
Cutting finalists, come here, please.
Mike is patient for Mike. He's doing good.
And this is probably the most exercise time.
Very well. Yeah, these guys absolutely deserve a round of applause. That was some amazing cutting going on there.
Before I announce the winners, I just want to say really quickly that all four of these finalists represent the pinnacle of cutting skills in HEMA today. So let's give them all a hand.
They did a phenomenal job.
In third place, we have Bill Grandy. In second place, we have Jake Norwood. In first place, and the new Longpoint champion, Dustin Ringen.
Outstanding. And Dustin is setting himself up in a pretty good position to take the triathlon.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
it was really impressive. I mean, and you know what? Even Tristan should not be upset with fourth place for that one.
Yeah.
Wow, way to go, Dustin. Dustin's been practicing cutting a lot lately.
Yeah, once again, he's just doing
a lot of
great
work with
stuff.
his cutting. And if you see his YouTube videos, they're absolutely amazing.
Fantastic.
All right. At this point, I believe I'm leaving you guys. Cutting's over.
You, sir.
I'll be back.
All right,
I'll be back judging later.
Thank you so much, Tim.
No problem. Thank you very much, Miles.
See you around.
It's good. Oh yeah, you guys get to do ringing.
Oh, there's wrestling coming up, folks.
It's gonna be some wrestling.
Okay, so we'll just take a few minutes for me setting up the mats for everybody, and then
Keep talking while they set up.
getting into some ringing. the German wrestling. Are you familiar with the rule set for this?
I'm afraid I'm not. I'm not a particularly good wrestler, but I can tell you that there are several different weight classes.
Okay.
There's, of course, a heavyweight class, and let's see, gathering my bearings here on my notes.
I believe the heavyweight was anything over 200. I think it was the 200 pounders.
That would probably be a good estimation.
Yeah. So there's some large fellas. Okay, so I believe we have Tyler Ott the Redneck Sullivan. He's coming in, also from the United States. He is another one of the Knife It guys in New York, one of Mike Edelson's prodigies.
That's right. And he is a very accomplished wrestler in his own right. He was first in heavyweight in 2013. He was second in 2012, both at Factional New York.
Got it.
He received the Longsword Technical Excellence Award at Factional New York 2015. And he expressed a particular affinity for this Ringen rule set over the other versions. And of course, the rule sets are available to read online for anybody who cares to delve into the details. And even with all of these accomplishments, he is only 21 years old, and he's been fighting for over 4 years.
Ott, when I first started to fight HEMA, Ott and I had a match in Short Point, Maryland, and that was one of the most explosive fights I've ever had. And joining us is Jake Norwood. But Mike Edelson, Ott has become a phenomenal fencer. He has the Technical Excellence Award that he received in New York. Well deserved, absolutely well deserved. I mean,
and there was certainly a large number of people who wanted to have him be here at this event, thanks to the crowdfunding campaign to bring Ott the Redneck to Longpoint.
Absolutely, and that just speaks volumes about the community we're involved in. Is that people want, folks to come down here and participate together. Just, I mean, it's an amazing culture we have. I really do love this place.
It's one of the best events for fostering that spirit because everybody's here helping each other out, sharing techniques freely, even if they're about to go and fight one another.
And I don't think people understand how much volunteer time actually goes into an event of this size. It's mind-blowing.
Well, why don't we have Jake Norwood tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. So the volunteerism aspect of Longpoint is huge, as you mentioned. About 40% of all attendees are actively staffing at some point in time. And some of those may be 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of volunteer work, running tables, for example, or helping out with some judging to fill in a couple of gaps. In other cases, you've got attendees over here essentially as dedicated staff. At the end of the day, nobody here is paid for being here. This is all done on a volunteer basis because people love this event, they love the community, they love to be here, and we couldn't do this without that kind of approach.
It's just an outstanding community to be part of. I mean, I don't think I've ever been involved in something that's this community oriented as far as obviously my military background. But this is a really close second to being a jarhead.
No, absolutely. And I find that the friends that I've made doing this, and I'm talking about guys from different parts of the country, different countries altogether. Exactly. I see them in spurts of 3 and 4 days at a time across the year, and these guys have become my best friends in the world. Right? These are the guys that I most look forward to going to, and I can imagine this time, hopefully decades from now, when I'm too old to fight, and I'm still showing up, just so I can complain about judging and hang out with my friends.
That's right.
Well, that's what makes an event like Longpoint so incredible too. It's like a family reunion of sorts.
It really
all
is.
the different people coming together, friends from Europe,
absolutely,
all over North America, who've only maybe have met one another once over a weekend, become lifelong friends.
One of the things that actually terrified me a little bit when we got set up this year, because this year is so much bigger than previous years. Is that was that sense of family and community going to be diluted significantly? And I was legitimately concerned. I haven't felt that way at all, actually.
I think the family's just getting bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And it's just awesome to see. We are in a combat sport technically. I mean, this is the essence of the pinnacle of weaponry and stuff in its time, and you're attempting to kill one another. But these are the greatest guys I've ever met. Right. You can bash someone.
I don't think in this day and age you could do this without that kind of camaraderie, honestly.
No,
right? I think you would walk out of every mat either best friends with a guy or mortal enemies. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we have to approach it that way.
Yeah. No, but it's amazing that so many people are that receptive to it. You can literally get stabbed in the face, and 2 seconds later, that guy, is the guy that you love fighting. You just love that guy. It's great. Absolutely. And the women as well. Not to segregate that at all. Some of the Kiana, that is a phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. You just get to meet all these people that are fantastic, superb athletes. And I know a lot of people don't know what we do. And obviously, when we did the New York Times last year, that was a big boost to saying, no, this is it. you know, and we have something we can show folks. But the athleticism and just the camaraderie is fantastic in this. I mean, and you've heard me say before, I love this stuff. This is
So Josh, you've been doing this for, as HEMA, knowing that there was such a thing, for about how long now?
Right, the existence of HEMA.
Right.
Practicing in Western martial arts in one form or another for about 3 years. Officially in HEMA, Short Point 2014 was my first
So
HEMA.
you're like not even a year and a half within the community, right? And already you've kind of come into this, in this position. So how did your sorting world, your historical European martial arts world, how did that change from, the first, say, year and a half to now coming into the community? What was that like?
My first year, let's see, I was training with guys who didn't really, they'd studied some of the manuals. It was just a group of older gentlemen who just said, there's got to be something more than what we're doing. And they were all traditional, or modern fencers, I should say. They wanted to move up and forward into that and try, the history of it and see where it all came from. So when I got to you all at HEMA, I wasn't really like, I had the, I don't want to speak German, that's just silly, and that type of deal. I got in and I really just relied basically on fight knowledge and athleticism to kind of pull me through the first couple of months of what we were doing and whatnot. And as you said, you gave me the advice, position before submission, a lot of stuff like that, and just stuff to slow down and learn some technique.
So when was the turning point from that, taking your, some of your raw ability plus your experience in other combat arts? Was there a moment when it went from I'm a fighter and I'm fighting with a thing to I'm a longsword fighter pursuing a tradition?
Yeah, I think when I came back from my first Longpoint, realizing that the technique was so important.
Yeah.
It makes it happen, It's you need to study. And I'll get back to that on you when we get to going.
There's Tim Hall, ladies and
For
gentlemen.
the evening is going to be the Ringen competition. This will be our first combat event of the evening, so that's something to get excited about here. Now, Ringen is a medieval wrestling art, so fighters will be trying to throw each other to the ground. Their goal is to get either 3 points, a point is earned anytime they throw their opponent to the ground, or have the most points at the end of 5 minutes. There are 5 different weight classes, and we'll move from lightest to heaviest, and that'll be it. So I hope you guys enjoy the show here.
Now, speaking about the Ringen, as far as this is concerned, what is the particular rule set involved in the Ringen? Are you familiar with
All right, so first on
what
our
we're going to be
list for the
observing?
lightweight finals, we have fighting in blue, Tristan Zukowski, representing the USA, fighting from New York Historical Fencing Association. And in red, we have Amanda Trail, also from the USA, fighting out of Iron Crown KDF.
There's that camaraderie. Amanda is an amazing sword fighter, and I'm very much looking forward to watching this.
Absolutely. In a lot of cases, I really like watching the lower weight classes. They're quick, they're nimble. It's easier to see some of the techniques if you're not a trained grappler.
Right.
The sources that these guys are working from vary, primarily German in nature, although there's a good number of Italian and other grappling sources. Some of the sources that we most frequently see people working out from include At Yud or At the Jew, who is part of the Lichtenauer tradition, and then Kristen going for a clinch. Ots wrestling, I mentioned Ots wrestling before, generally starts from an elbow clinch. And so those are the positions that many of these fighters are trying to get into so that they can execute those techniques.
So unlike the Eastern version or some of those where it would be more of a head clinch, grapple, that type of deal, you're actually going for arms in this case.
Right, that's at least the way that Ott suggests that you start your training and you're playing, right? Because we're looking at, there's really two major divisions of grappling that we see in the sources. We see this kind of Ringen, which is essentially a sport wrestling, which is then in part training for comfort or battle wrestling, right? Wrestling for life or death. And in some of the sources, for example, in the Codex Wallerstein, which is the source for repair technique this year, there's a reference that in sportive and play wrestling, the more skilled fencer, in play wrestling, the heavier, the larger fencer will often win. But in wrestling for life and death, because there are so many, he calls them killing tricks, eye gouges and fish hooks and things that you can't do here.
Dirty boxing.
Right, exactly. Dirty boxing, exactly. Then those techniques even the field significantly. So for that reason, although we've avoided going into things like weight classes for open longsword, we've embraced weight classes for the wrestling, in part to level the playing field according to the same approach to sports that we believe they had in that time period. So now we have clinch, elbow and shoulder.
And in essence, this is just an incredibly physical chess match. You're waiting for the balance, you're waiting for the moment to excellent. There we are. Nice.
And broke it up. Tristan almost had a throw. Likewise, Amanda Trail was almost in position to reverse that throw. And I think that's one of the things that interests me the most about this form of wrestling is that if you can perform a hip throw on your opponent can perform a hip throw on you.
Yeah, you're in the same position.
Exactly. And so there's a deep sense of timing, but also of what the Germans would call Fühlen or feeling involved in this, understanding the pressure, understanding the exact right moment to execute your technique.
The when.
Right, exactly. It's also worth pointing out here that they're wrestling in jackets. And that's because a lot of the techniques and the sources that we work from require certain jacket grabs, particularly at the bottom of the jacket, sort of like the bottom of a doublet would be the idea, or over the top in the collar, and of course grabs by the sleeves. Tristan trying to leverage Amanda over.
And
Almost has it. There's not much that Tristan can do here quite yet, except for wearing his opponent out.
And that is significant, sir.
It is. And the first one.
Point blue.
Now, in regards to scoring in this particular event, what are we looking for? We're looking for the takedown, the throw, dominant position. What are we looking for?
We're looking primarily for a throw or a takedown, for one fighter to put the other fighter down, and to either land dominant, or, as was the case there, to retain one knee or less on the ground.
So no more than 3 points, or no 3 points, or 3 points or less, I should say.
Correct.
There's 40 seconds left in this wrestling match.
Trail has to move in very quickly right now, or she's going to run out of time, and that single point will be enough for Tristan to win the match. And she's starting to get a sense of urgency. She's keeping calm, but maybe a little too calm. She might be a little wary to close.
Start getting excited.
Yeah. She doesn't have anything to lose at this point, though, so she needs to move quickly.
20 seconds.
Again, that's Amanda Trail in red, Tristan Zukowski in blue by the anklets. Tristan is from the New York Historical Fencing Association.
Excellent maneuver.
Suicide throw! Oh, incredible landing from Tristan. That repulsed that.
That was probably the best I've ever seen anyone actually attempt to nail that. That was fantastic.
So before the buzzer, we had a failed sacrifice throw. Point blue.
Beautiful sacrifice throw, but Tristan did manage to land in a way that I don't think I've ever seen anyone land. Spectacular.
Yeah, it was great. He definitely pulled himself out of that one. That was amazing. Well played. Well played.
And those who are familiar with Tallhofer wrestling might have recognized the attempted move by Amanda Trail right there.
You're right. The sacrificial flip.
We see it in Tallhofer. We also see it in
We
Paul
have
Hector Mara, if
Dustin
I'm not
Ringen
mistaken.
of the USA fighting from Redlands Fencing Center.
Dustin Reagan, Redlands Fencing Center, our first place cutting winner. He's also one of the top contenders to win the triathlon.
Very well set to do so. Yes.
And in blue, we have Mikael Wittgren from SW.
And exceptionally enjoyable to watch fighting, and pretty much doing anything he does. It's a pleasure to watch.
Now, Michael Wittgren, his opponent, won this weight class last year, is an amateur MMA fighter in Sweden where he is second ranked in his weight class there. He started grappling incidentally here in HEMA and then moved from there into other arts and into MMA. Michael is also one of the senior directors here at Longpoint for fights, a referee in previous years, going all the way back to Longpoint2011, actually, the very first Longpoint brand of
An exceptional judge as well, a referee. Keeps a very clean ring.
Now he has an old injury. Vittigren has an old injury. The Vittigren in blue has an old injury on his right arm, which is aggravated earlier today.
He was in a sling, actually, yeah.
He was in a sling. It's an inflamed tendon, if I'm not mistaken, in his right forearm. He's chosen to wrestle with that anyway, but that may provide Ringen the edge that he needs to finish him off.
You're seeing there is more of an ankle trip.
You can see both fighters attempting to use the jacket to secure a hold. Michael reaching for the bottom of Dustin's jacket.
It's interesting that Vittigren is doing this so aggressively because in MMA you don't wear a jacket. And so this is his pre-MMA training showing this.
Right.
At the same time, Ringen, who also began pursuing additional grappling training after getting into this, has been pursuing judo outside. Also, if I'm not mistaken, having started with Ringen and then going to judo to try to learn some of these throws from a more experienced teacher.
Right. One of my instructors is actually an old judo guy, and it's the same thing. He just he can show you some tricks.
Yeah. Judo seems to be the best parallel for the sportive side of German ringing.
Right. Even with the gi throws, things like that. Actually, when I started fighting MMA, I would wear a gi, and people would fixate on the collar for the gi choke because you don't get many opportunities to do so, which leads them nicely into a triangle or an armbar.
Right, exactly. I learned to grapple according to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu method in the Army, as part of the Army Combatives program. Okay. I went through a 2-week crash course. Yes. Where we choke each other out with Army uniforms with zippers on them. And
right. Yeah, we did.
As I learned just enough to beat someone who knows nothing and enough to get absolutely destroyed by someone who knows anything.
Some knowledge, that's right. Well, listen, the Marine Corps basically did the same thing, fighting in line training, things like that. And I believe an MMA-based has become a standard now, pretty much across the board.
Well, there's a lot of conversation about the value of sport of wrestling, and we're ostensibly here we're historically European martial arts, right? We're trying to learn combat arts, and here we are essentially sport wrestling, and unabashedly so. But I think it's worth pointing out a couple things. One, historically, we know that they did this because you can't really train the lethal techniques in this kind of a context, right? A combative context, or people will die or be permanently injured. Exactly. But the other thing that stuck out, and this is actually from Sergeant First Class retired Matt Larson, who is really the developer of the Army Combatives, the current Army Combatives system. And a little known fact, a sort of a minimal HEMA enthusiast. Much of the Army Combatives program, particularly the weapons piece, was cribbed from things like Talhofer and some of those early sources. So he's a big fan, and he and I have talked extensively, particularly about 10 years ago, about HEMA and HEMA's role in modern combative environments. The kinds of movements that are used, how they tend to be more appropriate for people that are heavy in the upper body, both strength-wise and the kind of equipment kit that you would wear. Right. And so some of the ways that you see throws in judo, for example, that are slightly different in Ringen can very potentially be attributed to the kind of gear that they were expected to have been wearing, right? A more upright posture, a little bit more upper body strength, and the weight, that kind of thing. But one of the things that he pointed out at that time was that they had gone with a jiu-jitsu-based training approach for the Army, a ground fighting training approach, because it was easy to train, and it was more important to teach soldiers to close with the enemy than any other thing that you could convey to them in, say, a week's time. And that was their approach. And then he justified, excellent leg hook down, fantastic throw by Vittigren. Excellent takedown.
Maintain dominance on the ground is fantastic move.
Clear point to blue. The other reason that the Army Combatives program went with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu based approach was because there was an established method for competing in it. And what they found was that if you could give soldiers something to compete in, they would train and practice. If you simply told them these are killing techniques, they're awesome, they're amazing, they're badass.
Exactly.
They would like do it a couple times and then say, I'm badass now, I can do anything.
I'm a ninja.
Right, exactly. Whereas if they have to go out and compete, you have to get better.
You have to prove it.
Who trains harder, right? A soldier is somebody in actual combat profession, or a boxer. Right? The boxer knows on Friday night he's going to get his face smashed in if he doesn't train like the devil.
Very much so.
And that leads to a training mentality that has affected all of HEMA, and I think is the #1 gift that competition has brought HEMA. For all the things that it has and can cost us, competition has brought a razor-sharp focus on training and effective training that I think there's really no other way to get.
No, it's. I mean, you and I have discussed this too, in terms of conditioning for the sport that you're trying to get to. I mean, even just a martial art itself. I mean, the conditioning is required. I mean, you can see these guys out here. They're not. I mean, they're athletes. And they're doing this.
Little fake out, being ginger, Vittigren taunting. Ringen had his hand right on Vittigren's head, going for an inside leg hook. Turning those hips quickly. Justin's got his arm bound in underneath. He's pulled it out. Thought they were going to pummel there for a second, but no, we've got just a couple of seconds. Dustin only has a few seconds to make a throw and to try to tie it up, going to sudden death. Time, and that's time. No throw achieved. That's
Great match.
My mistake.
Great match.
That's time. But Vittigren wins with 1 point. And so remains the champion in his weight class for Ringen at Longpoint. It's worth noting that Dustin is also in the first place match for Open Longsword.
Correct. And I don't think that arm slowed him down at all.
No, it didn't seem so.
That was good to go.
Okay, our next fight is for the middleweight championship. In blue, we have Kasper Andersen from Denmark fighting for Triangle Sword Guild. And in red, we have Doug Bonnick from the USA fighting for Virginia Academy of Fencing.
I've watched Casper does it before. His ringing skills are pretty exceptional.
He is. Bonnick did very well last year. Bonnick is one of the best fencers to come out of the Virginia Academy of Fencing, which is generally a very good school.
Yep.
And they spend more time focusing on Ringen than most any other school here along the East Coast.
Yeah.
People ready? Fighter ready? Fighter ready? Fight!
Anderson is Danish. He started HEMA here in the United States and is probably going to return to Denmark sometime next year, which is unfortunate because in a lot of ways he's one of the better fighters across the board that we have here in the United States.
He's ours.
Bonnick grinding his head into Anderson's forehead, not letting Anderson get to the side, right? Preventing that shoulder-to-shoulder clinch that Anderson's trying to achieve. It's almost like he's shaking his head, no, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, that is just painful.
Leg hook.
Well done, well up. Nice
failed.
out, nice out.
Okay, there you go. Go to the heavy lift. All right. And
Dominant position with a choke. Very nicely done.
Very nice.
Very nicely done.
That happened fast. And you see how quick on his feet he is and how he was able to watch and read the situation as it developed.
Yeah, go into it. I mean, the choke at the end was beautiful. I don't know if most folks saw that or not, but.
Yeah. Right, I mean, had ground footing continued, it would have been an immediate rear naked choke. With hooks in.
Correct. Locked in.
Now see how much less aggressive Anderson is.
Yeah.
A little more tentative. Bonnick getting ready to grind his head again. Yep, there goes the head down.
And now it's to note that too, Casper's also fighting with an injury. He had damaged, I believe, almost a bone bruise in his spine, the upper area.
Really?
So he's fighting what he's doing, he's toughing that out. That's a bad dude.
It's
like
definitely
two rams bringing that.
It is.
Ringen or ram it?
You see the failed heel.
Bent over. This position that they're in right now, this exact position, is carved into the wall of the city hall in the city of Wrocław in German Breslau, in Poland, which used to be the fencing and wrestling school in then Holy Roman Empire city of Breslau.
All right.
Second throw. That is a sizable lead for Bonik. Anderson is getting frustrated. Our director here is Jessica Finley, who is the author of a book on Otts wrestling that came out at Longpoint last
A very
year.
accomplished wrestler herself, yes.
She is.
There it is. All right.
Nice reversal, nice reversal.
Way to maintain balance. Very nice.
Second,
Very
I thought that
nice.
leg was cracked and there was going to be an ankle and knee injury. And he pulled it out just in time.
That was nice.
Hold a point for Casper. Getting much closer now.
This is where you're going to see
To catch up on
frustration maybe take over and see.
Maybe he's calmed down a little bit.
We'll
Bonik,
see.
now more careful. He knows that if he's patient, he can win this. He's got 2 minutes left, which is quite a bit of time. So certainly not a safe lead anymore. To catch those at home up on the score, it is 2 points for red, Doug Bonik from Virginia Academy of Fencing, 1 point for Casper Anderson of Triangle Sword Guild.
Oh, nice takedown by Casper Anderson. Fantastic. And if you notice at the end there, almost does like a deep that you'd see in an Eastern martial art. And it was a great throw, great hold, maintained complete dominance on the throw.
So 1 minute 10 left on the clock.
And this
is tied up.
This has become a very exciting match. You could hear a pin drop in this room right now.
And no one wants to put their heads together anymore. It's got to be painful.
1 minute left. Tied up. 2-2.
This is where you don't want to overreact and find yourself in a situation where you're getting thrown.
As a competitor, these situations where you're tied up with little time left on the clock, there's some tough tactical decisions here. You know that if you can make it to the end of the time, you have all the time in the world because they'll go into sudden death. And so in some cases, fencers will actually wait to make their decisive move to the very, very end of the time because that closes off their opponent's ability to recover. But that's risky too. Less than 20 seconds, I think I just heard. I think they're both looking for sudden death. No, wait. He's got a hook.
Oh, the grab.
Oh, that was a lure. That was bait. He's underneath. His head was down.
And
there it is.
Excellent work.
And there's the bell. What did I say?
That was
Waiting
awesome.
for the last couple seconds to nail that in right before the end.
Yeah, there's no coming back.
Incredible match. Casper Anderson, Triangle Sword Guild, North Carolina, wins middleweight in the last few seconds of one of the closest matches I've seen this year.
That was a tremendous demonstration of body fueling to be exactly where he needed to be just before the clock ran out.
Yep. Just
And a tremendous demonstration of real strength and endurance.
yeah, that was a good one. I like that.
Okay, so our next fight for the evening is the light heavyweight division. Fighting from Canada is Jerry Toussaint with Wutan Canada. And in red, we have David Rao from the USA fighting for Virginia Academy of Fencing.
So here we are, in light heavyweight. Jerry Toussaint against David Rao. Jerry weighs 195 pounds. This is his second year in the finals at Longpoint. David Rao, also from the Virginia Academy of Fencing. He has been coached by Doug Bonik, who was just in the last match. David is shorter and has a lower center of gravity, and because of this, historically, if he can get underneath an opponent, he usually manages to throw because of that low center of gravity. On the other hand, Jerry is an experienced grappler in other grappling arts, particularly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe some other form of Jiu-Jitsu, but I seem to recall that from my conversations with him last year. It's kind of exciting to have Jerry here as well, because he started out purely as a non-Ringen guy. When he was here last year, he was simply a Jiu-Jitsu guy that wanted to play.
You found the bug.
He found the bug, and now I see him showing up this year in an actual Ringen jacket. So that's a good sign. He was in a gi last year, and he's down. It's a very subtle throw.
Well balanced though. It is difficult to get some of the smaller guys to come over the hip that way because of that center of gravity.
Well, feeling a little less sure. Right over the top. It's almost like you walked right into that.
Yeah, I really did. I think you tripped. There was.
It's now 2 points for blue in a 3-point match.
Almost 4 minutes left on the clock.
Toussaint very confident now. Walking up, trying to lure Rao in.
Set it up.
Toussaint strong.
Yeah, just kind of dominating with the upper body strength.
Point for blue, I believe that's match blue. And that's match blue.
That's going to be match blue.
Match blue, Jerry Toussaint from the Wu-Tan Club in Canada. Second place is always a hard place for a competitor to be. When you're the third place guy in the finals, the last fight everybody saw was you winning. So even though it's not as good as second, it feels better.
That's right. Yeah, it's psychological.
Second's a hard place to be. And yet that guy is the second best guy, right? In the entire tournament.
Exactly.
And there's nobody here who hasn't accomplished something significant already.
That's very true. This is kind of the pinnacle.
Here's our heavyweight division.
I'm very excited about
the Redneck
I'm
Sullivan.
very excited. I love fighting a lot. Odd is one of my favorite fights. He has become a tactician almost in the last
He
year.
has. Ott has come very, very far in the last couple of years.
Technical excellence award in New York.
Ott weighs an intimidating 280 pounds.
He is a very young man, but a man.
But a man, compared to Keith Cotter Riley's 230 pounds. So there's a 50-pound weight difference here.
Yes, there is. Most of that's Ott's head, but man, he's a big guy.
Ott took first in the heavyweight division in 2013. He took second in 2012. So last year he didn't. So this is a chance for him to come back.
I don't think he didn't attend last year, correct? I mean, had he been here, I think he would have done some damage.
Ott trying to get that initial elbow grip.
Ott also happens to be one of the nicest large human beings on the planet.
He is. He's a very, very mellow, gentle guy. You never know when he's hitting you over the head with a stick.
Exactly.
Keith Cotter Riley is the head instructor of the Atlanta Fry Factor. He brought 10 students with him to Longpoint, including names like Mackenzie Ewing,
Marcus Lewis,
and Marcus Lewis, who are some of the better known faces as part of the Longpoint family. Also, frequently medaled fighters. Marcus Lewis, in fact, got third place in welterweight.
Now, what is the ring out? How does that actually score out? As far as is there any score or just
there's not. They just bring him back in.
As we can clearly see, there was a ring out there in center and continue to wrestle.
Now, Keith Cotter Riley has been wrestling in some form or another for 17 years. Wrestling, judo, he's got a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he's got a wide range. Ott, on the other hand, has only been fighting in any form at all for the last 4.
Looks like he's having a tremendous amount of fun in this fight.
He's enjoying himself.
I can see that grin curling at the side of his mouth.
Yep. All right, so good arm grab there.
See Cutter Riley pummeling over on his arm, breaking his clinch, going for a single leg takedown, but no, makes an attempt. A lot of attempts at hip throw, but nothing. Both fighters starting to look pretty winded.
It's a long fight. This is a very long fight.
Many fencers can get winded after a minute 30 and long, so this is 5 minutes of continuously
of whoopings, yeah.
Sigh of frustration from Cutter Riley. Leaning on each other, taking some sort of agreed rest. Almost.
Oh, and a nice attempt by Ott to reverse that.
Yeah, very nice. You know, not only are these really big guys moving around a lot of weight, but they're wearing very heavy jackets. These aren't lightweight jackets. Right. These are
capable of taking the beating.
Right. These jackets run, 8 pounds. Thick.
Not to include the
hot.
sweat.
Yeah.
It's a 40-pound jacket very quickly.
Okay, there's a minute 30 left in the time, and nobody has thrown the other yet.
The immovable object.
I think Ott's just content to let Riley try to throw him, and then he wants to reverse. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Exactly, and I think, Ott is essentially wearing him down slightly. I mean, that's a lot of work that Keith is having to do to move that amount of human being.
Well, it's a surprising game for the heavier guy to try to wear the other one down. Mm-hmm. Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Took advantage of the situation.
Gravity took over. I think this is where you're going to see Ott try to make a move. Right. Obviously, he's going to get in there.
He's got to get aggressive now. And there it is. Oh, try to wither on him. No luck. And all of a sudden, the room is alive. And that's time.
What a great fight. That was a great fight.
Riley. Nashared.
Perfect example of knowing when to take care of it or take advantage of it. Take advantage of the fall in the right spot. Great fight, though.
And this concludes our ringing competition for the evening. Thank you very much.
Okay. We're now going to be transitioning to pre-recorded footage of the Rapier finals. This was recorded on Friday or Thursday night, the first night of Longpoint. Yes.
Judges.
Shot.
axle steps after the girata of the left foot. It was very imperceptible, but it was there.
Dave? Oh, yeah, okay.
Very that knocked Christine back. Cut to the leg there. Christine coming to close in.
I'm still dead, right?
She lost control of her sword. Notice the play of the dagger is taking the Rapier then comes in next. So it was explained to me.
All right, so I'm going to announce this and then I'll come back.
The dagger is for their sword, the sword is for them. And Axel Harrison is playing that position.
So we'll do it just like we did the other stuff before,
Clearing the
right?
sword out of the leg.
50 seconds, okay. Jess, I've got 50 seconds. This is first place. Previously, Bill Grandy took third, or not Bill Grandy, Bill Frisbee took third place. Now we have Bob Charette of Forteza Swordwork against Bill Grandy of the Academy. They're both members of, what's that thing called? The Order of Seven Ninjas or something?
Companion of the Seven Swords.
Companions of the Seven Swords. They were companions of the Seven Swords.
Well, I believe they said in the Olympics that it's the second fastest thing in the Olympics, other than a bullet. When you're talking about modern events, that rapier tip is coming in there.
All right, great.
We are fighting armor as worn, which means different fighters.
The winner in red, Axel Peterson.
It was a great fight to watch live.
Enjoyable fight. I've been training a little bit in rapier myself, and that is that's kind of where you want to be right there. That is a great fight.
It was a pleasure to watch.
Very first armored combat tournament, which we are calling a Passage at Arms. So I want to tell you a couple of things about this before I announce our fighters and bring them out. The first is that earlier in the week, yesterday, we actually went ahead and fought for third and fourth place. And in that match, Bill Frisbee from the USA of New Hampshire Concessions took third place.
Don't let him come.
Covers more than the other man's armor. That's awesome for the guy whose armor covers more. Okay. He carries more weight to cover more, but that's that balance that you make as a warrior, and it's the balance that these men have chosen to make. So you'll see some things will count as points on one guy that don't count on the other guy, and that's why. All right? Otherwise, let me go ahead and say, fighters, please take the field.
This for me is one of those very exciting, because this is what we did. We were kids. We wanted to put on this armor and we wanted to battle each other, and they're about to do the harnesses that these men are wearing are amazing.
In the red corner, from Springfield, Virginia, and the Virginia Academy of Fencing, we have Bill Grandy. In the red corner, from Charlottesville, Virginia, and the Forteza Historical Swordwork group, we have Bob Charette. And both of these fighters are members of the Companion of Seven Swords, which is a small group of armor fighting enthusiasts. So they're pretty excited to be facing each other tonight.
So, very quick explanation about what we're going to see here. So, they're resting only because the cut against armor is not going to do anything. So, they're searching for the exposed portions of the armor just like in the treatises. You'll notice that each one is carrying a spear and a longsword and a dagger. So, we are seeing a progression of techniques from the long measure to the medium measure and even into the grapple if the fighter so chooses to take it there.
Grandy attempting a thrust under Charette's arm. Grandy is in the harder color hose, yellow and red.
You just need to release the spear, move on to the next weapon.
Spear.
Done.
Spear going to an unarmored part of the
Unarmored, blow, 2 points, blue.
So if a thrust strikes in a completely unarmored portion of the opponent's body, that is worth 2 points. If it strikes in a male,
Better to have mail. That's a really interesting technique right there. Defending.
Posting with the spear and working around it.
Blow. 2 corner.
So in essence, defending yourself while allowing yourself to attack with the opposite hand.
Correct.
Red fighter had his point up under in the male for the blue fighter. 1 point red.
Left from Big Randy.
Ready? Fight.
And I have to say, I just think that these two suits of armor, both of these gentlemen are wearing, is just absolutely gorgeous. They wear it with so much.
It's amazing to watch.
With
They're,
so
they're
much
graceful
grace.
in movement.
Yes.
Exactly.
Grandy, red.
Shot to the hand there. So any of the unarmored sections of the gloves, things like that.
Or the crook of the elbow.
I thought it was a hand shot. Maybe
Red
a
point
crook.
slip under the male
Good call.
and
Yep.
into
Into the elbow.
bicep. 2 points red. Ready? Fight.
Red is leading with a turn red. Blue discarded his spear. And matched. Now we see techniques in the shortened sword, half sword.
Visor came up. This is amazing.
The visor worked up.
All right. Was it due to a blow? No. Okay, thank you. Fix the visor, please.
Now, in actual Mortal Kombat, the visor coming up is about the best thing possible that can happen.
That's a big win.
For the person who's lifting the visor.
For the other guy.
But the opposite has happened here. The opposite happened here.
All right.
Safety is paramount, sir.
We had a ring out of red by blue into red corner. That is worth 2 points. 2 points.
So the ring
blue.
out is very valuable here because historically, during actual judicial combat of the type that these techniques were meant for, driving your opponent out of the barrier, right? It was the same as essentially, it was the same as killing. You drove them out of the barrier, then being carted off and executed, which is why it's worth the same number of armored part of the body.
Okay.
Corner. Into the box. Thank you. All right. We have a thrust by blue into red's neck. That'll be 1 point blue.
I've got to tell you, they've almost got me convinced to start doing this.
We're now looking at
seconds left on the
5-3, 5-3 blue.
That's correct.
Grandy attempting to get up into that bicep again. Charette's not giving any space. Attempted a wrench over with a pommel, and the point went in. Looks like it went up underneath the right armpit. Right. It also pulled his mail out if you look. The mail was inside the arm, now it's hanging out. A good sign that it hit.
Red point went into the armpit of blue. 1 point red.
1 point for red. No.
So, 19 seconds left on the clock. I am curious if we're going to see daggers
They have
come
less
in
than-
these last few seconds.
Just for the show of it, I think.
Less than 20.
Oh. And a shot into the hand by Bill Randy. It looks like
2 points red.
2 points red. And with that,
10 seconds.
with 10 seconds left, the score is incredibly close. Red in the lead by 1.65.
Right.
Bob Charette the fighter in blue is over 60 years old and is hard of hearing and almost completely deaf in one ear and has limited hearing in the other ear, which is why the director was signaling to him that the match had concluded due to time. Second place, and as previously mentioned, Bill Frisbee of New Hampshire Princess Section's third place.
I've been informed that Bob basically wrote the book on this record. His story. That's
what I hear. Another little tidbit that many of the viewers will be interested to know. Bob literally wrote all the Shadow novels that I read as a kid. He was part of the original design team for that product, and as geeking out as it is,
right?
It's pretty significant. I think a good half of what I read
very
is
important
as a 14-year-old.
Very nice.
Okay. Now, next up is going to be Sword and Buckler. Sword and Buckler, like Rapier.
Yeah, this is one of those things that there's a lot of appeal to me. I really love it. When you're watching Sword and Buckler, and when you're watching, obviously in competition it gets a little bit brutal. You can see that it becomes a fight. But when you're watching two people that actually know how to use Sword and Buckler, it is elegant. I mean, it is just the positioning, the way that you can, the manipulation of the blade with the buckler is just fantastic. I mean, it's intriguing.
It's an incredibly complicated system.
It's awesome.
In my opinion, as a longsword fencer, and I think longsword has a lot of permutations.
Now seeing Christian Mukonen versus David Rao, the Virginia Academy of Fencing. Christian Mukonen from Finland in the EHMS.
You can see almost a perfect thrust there in the face.
So both fencers using their bucklers to cover their sword hands as they try to make a controlled entry into their opponent's space to deliver a cut or a thrust.
Correct. This is so similar to goaltending, playing the angles on that buckler. The buckler comes out, decreases the positioning for the. It's a really interesting use of the buckler.
Absolutely. And from Rapier and dagger, like we saw earlier, the buckler plays a very similar role in this. But even though the buckler cannot be used quite maybe as offensively as a dagger can, since you can't stab somebody with these bucklers, the buckler can be used to counter posture the opponent's position and close off an entire line of attack, such that the opponent has to change his guard in order to get around the buckler to get into the meaty bits.
Oh, and that buckler can be effectively as a weapon.
It certainly can be. It can certainly be used to wrap the opponent's arms, to punch.
Trapping, a lot of stuff.
Both of these fencers demonstrating a lot of control, even in the close measure. Playing with this measure, strike of the leg, and beautifully covered with almost like a Halbschwert or Halbschild technique. Sword and buckler together. Coming into the clinch.
You can see right here. That was going to be the murder blow with the side of that buckler.
Absolutely.
Very effective in using this buckler. You can see the press, the push.
Well, one of the things that really sticks out to me about real sword and buckler fighters, and then we amateurs who just grab one and think it looks like fun.
Club and shield.
Club and shield, exactly. is the role that buckler plays when you're attacking. You watch movies and the shield always moves out of the way and the guy cuts, right? And some fencers simply they get tired. Here you have Rukonen, of the UHMS Finland, getting third place.
Takes third place in sword and buckler. Now we're looking at the first and second place fight. We're going to see Axel Pettersson of Gothenburg Historical Fencing School from Sweden versus Bill Grandy, USA, Virginia Academy of Fencing.
And you see the better sword and buckler fighters will keep that buckler out front even when they're attacking. They won't leave that opening there.
So Pettersson playing with Bill Grandy, trying to sneak something into the hands, possibly for Bill Grandy to attack and then hit and counter time.
Pettersson's somebody we're going to obviously be seeing a lot of tonight, who already won Rapier, who is here in the finals for sword and buckler. A natural fighter who works very, very hard and is really pushing his own limits. You're not in areas where he hasn't really competed before in the way that he has competed before. Against Grandy in cutting, and who also just won the armored fencing. And so what we're seeing is a lot of these top-level fencers are multi-disciplinary.
But if you've been looking obviously some of the treatises. One falls into the other. You know, the messer technique can fall into the longsword. I mean, so training that way is the way to accomplish becoming a swordsman. Not just one discipline. Because honestly, these guys on a battlefield, I bet you if they found a dagger, they could kill you with it too. Absolutely. You dropped the sword and time out there. But getting back to what you said about as far as myself being a freedom fighter, just going in and just naturally being able to fight. The moment when I figured out was after the Longpoint. Watching these guys, the tacticians, the technical, the chess matches really what intrigued me more.
Absolutely.
That's when it basically gets to you want to better yourself, and you get to see there's this on there.
Patterson playing with Phil Grandy a little bit there, taking the sword and then standing on it, and stepping on it, and daring Grandy to come and take it
and that's
back.
one of the things that needs to stand out is as you watch this is how rough and tumble Sword and Buckler can get, even the technical fighters.
Exactly.
Here we have final results, and the winner, Axel Patterson. Second place, Greg Grandy.
I participated in the Sword and Buckler tournament this year, and I was personally impressed with the level of cleanliness that Sword and Buckler seems to be reaching in the community as more people take it up. And I think a portion of that was aided by the Bring Your Own Sword rules for the Sword and Buckler tournament. So
Night and day,
just bashing.
Absolutely. I was in Sword and Buckler 2 years ago as well.
We need to quickly take a moment to talk about our sponsors. These are companies that have put incredible effort and have really made Longpoint possible, especially Longpoint's prizes possible, through their very generous donations. First is Albion Swords. Albion Swords provided, or rather makes, all of the swords that we saw in the cutting competition tonight, and have really become the go-to choice for sharp swords amongst the historical European martial arts community, especially the longsword community. It has really rallied around Albion because of the kinds of weapons that they make and how dependable they've been.
Really making what we do possible. I mean, this is the idea, right? Absolutely should be spoiling.
Well, I know in the United States, the big turning moment for me, for He-Man in the United States, was like late 2006, early 2007, when Albion began making the Lichtenauer and the Meyer models. It was the first time we had a blunt training weapon that was really meant for us. You know, it wasn't just a big, heavy, it wasn't a reenactment sword, it wasn't a theater sword. Art of the Book by Nancy Hulan, they're providing a handmade book bound in a medieval style for the Sword and Buckler tournament. It's a copy of MS 133, which is is the oldest historical European martial arts manuscript, bound in historical style. It's double bound, so there's a sort of front half and a back half. The front half is a copy of 133, and the back half is that same 133 with the translation side by side from Lichtenauer. It's a beautiful book. And that's actually going to be the second place prize. Baltimore Knife and Sword has provided 3 swords for us, the swords that will be prizes for the Paratechnique competition, and also the second place cutting prize, which means mine. Baltimore Sword Knife Horse is giving me a blunt but very pointy saber, a beautiful saber.
It's a nice saber. They do some really beautiful stuff, though. I mean, the craftsmanship's really great.
They have a lot of great work, and they've really been focusing more on the HMB Battle of Nations kind of community. Having really only fairly recently discovered the sort of
those types of weapons,
right?
Falchion and whatnot.
Exactly, and so they've gone into creating a fetter, the kinds of swords that we compete with here. I got the chance to try one hands-on for since Short Point, so several months. I used it exclusively to really put it through the paces.
Yeah.
I bashed the heck out of it, really gave it through the paces. It's a very nice weapon, and it feels different from all the others. Ensifer by Jan Chodkiewicz. This was the go-to Longpoint tournament sword. Very first tournament sword that was provided by Longpoint 2 years ago was Ensifer. I fight with an Ensifer.
My first one ever touched was your Ensifer when you're like, don't break it.
Ensifer is important too because Jan Chodkiewicz, who makes these, is a real pioneer of the gear that we have. A lot of the gloves, what we call now sparring gloves, were designed, originally his design. He made those. He's one of the absolute top fencers in Poland. He's a smith of swords used in Poland and across the world. He made the glove design that's used by about half of all the fighters in this room right now. So he really is a Renaissance man of sorts. And I understand there's even a documentary about it out there. So Ensifer by Jan Hokiewicz. His swords are also available through Purple Heart Armory. The HEMA Alliance, the Historical European Martial Arts Alliance. We talked a bunch about community earlier, right? And this is sort of the rallying point for the very broad, otherwise fairly disjointed, Historical European Martial Arts community, right? I was president myself for a long time. Miles, you've been very involved in HEMA
Yes,
Alliance.
I'm currently a governing council member, and I think I'll probably be running for the governing council again since I've been nominated.
So what is HEMA Alliance doing for the community right now?
Well, so the HEMA Alliance is providing a lot of things that we're very excited about. For example, we provide sponsorship for events like this, equipment discounts through the various sponsors of events like this. The HEMA Alliance is also working on a whole variety of projects to bring more resources. The HEMA Alliance is, of course, a main sponsor of the Wichton Hour and organizes things like the fundraising drive, which is getting manuals that were previously inaccessible in private collections and libraries out into the communities in sponsoring those types of activities. So the HEMA Alliance has played a tremendous role in bringing at least North American HEMA together, getting us all into the big tent philosophy, as Richard Marston would probably put it. We don't all have to be, even in the same frame of mind. It's not a super club, but it is a community, a fraternity. It's on part of our motto to get us talking together. Even the Facebook group, just having a Facebook group that everybody can go on and talk on and share ideas. And thousands of people sharing these concepts and ideas.
It's been amazing over the last about a year and a half to see outsiders confusing the HEMA Alliance for just HEMA, the whole idea. And on the one end, that's really frustrating because you have to keep on making that. No, it's not exactly the same thing. Like there's this thing and then there's this community that's part of the thing. At the same time, I think there's been some benefit from that as well because it's driven people into sort of a similar corral where they can start running into experienced people. And like so much of what happens in the community, it's all volunteer run, right? I was a volunteer for many years. You're a volunteer actively right now. And again, everybody in it is doing it just purely out of the love of what we're doing here, which means that it's not about egos, it's not about profit, it's really about the community making it grow. So
it's about furthering the art form. I mean, we were seriously bringing an art form that has been dead for centuries in many cases back to life. And for like the Passage at Arms that we just saw here today, when I partake in HEMA, when I fence even going into the ring, I would like to create something that, one of the masters who we admire from 500 years ago, walk into the room and say, oh, this looks familiar.
Yeah.
I recognize this. You must have read my book.
I made that.
I made that.
Finland.
Exactly right.
And
it's such a unique connection to the history that I can't find in any other. I'm sure it's out there maybe somewhere, but I can't find this connection between swords and its connection to our popular imagination and the ability to physically participate. And academically, there's just so much about this thing that we do called HEMA that it just blows me away and it keeps me coming back to it time after time after time.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the HEMA Alliance site itself and the Facebook, it's indispensable. I mean, because we fight and we train in something that you said. It's almost a forgotten art. It's just it's Renaissance is now. It's coming back. So when you're buying a $1,000 sword and you don't know anything about it, it's like I always say, it's like buying shoes online. You never know if it's going to fit, but that community is always there to help you with specs and weights and information and just when they're doing their reviews on equipment. I mean, you can't find a more indispensable. It's a wonderful place to go and just be able to say, okay, there's so much out there. They're always willing to help you out with that thing.
100% agree. And nobody needs to go flying into this blind. It's such a great thing that somebody can walk in the community and say, what kind of sword should I get? And there's a million
ladies and gentlemen,
willing to just give them names.
Exactly.
We now move into the women's longsword competition. In the red corner, from EHMS Finland, Elisa Keskinen. And in the blue corner, from the Triangle Sword Guild in the United States of America, Megan Paisky. Your director will be Mr. Mike Edelson.
Mike is one of my favorite refs. He is just he's very decisive, and he sees a lot of subtlety in the movement.
Absolutely, he's a very fair ref too. He does not play favorites in the ring. He runs it with authority, which is an important thing to have in a head judge.
It is, and judging is a difficult thing. I mean, even the assistants, you're watching something happen so quickly that the amount of sets of eyes we have, the judge needs to be, the head referee needs to be able to decipher that information quickly and just really lay down the law.
Right, and also be confident in their decision. You know, and a lot of judges, and even some of the best judges that I have to give credit to, are the ones who can look at that action and say, you know what, I do not know what happened. It's don't do a disservice to the fighters by calling what you think happened.
Exactly.
Right, you know, because it can be fought again. It's not a huge thing.
That's right.
And often the best judges are fighters themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, because
Mike has the knowledge, and he knows what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like. Hell, he knows what it's supposed to sound like.
That too.
Fighter ready?
And not that the head judge or even the line judge is necessarily predicting what's going to happen.
Right.
But there's a level of expectation from having seen what guards.
They have the knowledge of what's available to that fighter.
Here we go, an aggressive entry by Keskinen. Keskinen right now is probably the most dominant female fencer in Europe. She took second place here 2 years ago, and I think she's done for it. She is determined to walk out of here with a medal. A formidable fencer.
Megan playing a cautious game.
I love the rhythm that a lot of the European fighters get into, and likewise force you to get into.
Bind up, open abdomen in front of the bind, and a strike to right hand. Clean sheet for red. Score is now 1 point for red.
2 points red.
2 points red, my mistake, thank you. A little kind of tippy hit. Keskinen has a tiny little nick hit on the glove. Keskinen, which the judges choose not to call.
Correct, with the quality.
So incidental, right? And then Keskinen manages to parry, deliver a follow-up cut, solid follow-up cut to the follow-up cut to the hands of Paisky. And I think we're going to see Keskinen play to the hands a lot. Even though in the long point rules, a strike to the head or a thrust to the torso is worth extra points, in doing this control criteria is worth even more points still.
Absolutely.
Fighters, a quick, nimble fighter with good range and distance will take their time and slowly pick their opponent apart bit by bit, only taking that deep technique when the opportunity presents itself.
Absolutely, and that's the principle of the Zufechten, the pre-fencing, setting up your action so that you can land that decisive hit that will end the fight. Because if these swords were sharp, you would not want to see what would happen if you failed and did not kill your opponent.
Technique. First point called. Looks like blue managed to land a hit near the hip or side on red. Red then followed up with a counter thrust to the body. That means that he failed to withdraw. Something very similar to the afterglow we see in other teams. And so half Blue's ability to score at one time. So first round, there are 3 90-second rounds.
That's correct. So
First round goes to red.
That's absolutely right.
I've found that this year's rule set is really on point with this. This is going where it needs to go. I really enjoyed fighting under it, and I actually enjoy watching it. And what you're getting is a lot more fighters looking for that moment to take the control. And it doesn't have to be the showy. It's a displacement of the blade. It's maneuvering your opponent. I mean, you can get the control the way you're supposed to get it. And once again, when you're watching judges like Mike Edelson, who know what this looks like, the subtleties get lost in a lot of the bashing. And this rule set in particular, I find, is allowing those subtleties to come back in.
It also keeps fighters on their toes. You can have a pretty sizable lead, 5
And lose it very quickly.
And that lead can reverse in a heartbeat with what we call a control point here. So it keeps fighters, even with significant advantages, really on their game. You can never relax and think, oh, it's no big deal, I'm in the lead. There's never a comfortable lead.
And it's more than just the theory, it's the fact of this tournament. I've seen several fights reversed in the last 10 seconds by brilliantly delivered control.
Fight!
second round has begun.
Moving around.
Ah,
Red moves in, contacted the blade. It looks like a thrust was probably delivered to the face.
Overruled. 3 points red for clean thrust to the chest.
All right,
Fire!
landed. There the judges weren't sure that it had enough quality.
And once again, you get an officiant like Mike who knows what he's looking for.
And thrust can be very difficult to judge, so I'm glad that Edelson made that call.
Yes.
That's the proper call to make.
We see some of the reverse grip, reverse left hand coming up. Quick pass, point.
I love the reverse grip. I actually got to land one of those today. I was very excited about the whole thing.
Blue. Score. 1 point blue.
Looks
Fire!
like blue came in, put on the head, but that reverse grip still sunk in. Failed to throw for blue. Current score is 3-1 red.
50 seconds left on the clock.
Great footwork.
It's a beautiful wood. Again, both fighters moving conservatively, watching the range. Elisa had a fantastic fight with one of the fighters going for second. One of the fighters going for first place today.
Overruled.
Katie
3
Cromwell,
hit
who
for
got second
red.
place last year.
1 point red.
It
Fight!
was one of the most careful fights. They went the full 90 seconds without a single hit being delivered, but lots of blade work.
Right.
It was very careful.
A great hand shot there coming down.
Okay, Edelson calling the judges together.
The Edelson huddle.
The huddle here is used because it's so important in these matches to make the right call.
Exactly.
That if there's something questionable, he
We
wants
were
to
just
make sure he
talking
has
about
the
this.
most complete idea.
The eyes are there. Use them.
1 point blue.
Point for blue, and it's 4-2 red. Red is in the lead with 20 seconds remaining.
So it's still possible for this fight to go either way.
Absolutely. With a great move.
Understood. Let's see if it's going to be a failed withdrawal or a clean hit.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score.
Yeah.
1 point blue. Fight!
It's getting narrow.
15 seconds on the clock. Still enough time for another action to happen.
Oh, a great headshot.
Looks like that might have been considered a clean hit. I think so.
Clean
Indeed.
hit for red. Score.
That's going to probably cinch it for Kesselman.
Great overhaul over the blade.
No quality.
No quality in the blow. Because the blow landed with the strong of the blade, it doesn't get the final quality, so no score is earned.
Fight ball. Judges.
Blue strikes in. Clashes the blades. We have some judges abstaining. A couple
No
judges.
decision.
No decision.
Fight!
Smart call.
Left.
Ball.
There's time for another action.
Great fight.
Next match, 4-3 red. Elisa Castillo of UHMS Finland is 1 point, bronze winner.
Well fought. She's very fun to watch.
Very nice match.
Longpoint2015 women's longsword, 3rd place. Elisa Castillo.
It's been a challenging day, a challenging weekend for Elisa. Her luggage was lost. She had to borrow equipment. She didn't sleep for about 2 or 3 days straight. So
Oh,
for her to
jeez.
come back from all of that and be able to put on this kind of performance speaks a great deal about her ability.
Well, I imagine historically that was something that people might have had to deal with back in the day.
You think? Lost luggage?
Lost luggage and baggage trains being raided. And
That's
whatnot.
true.
So that's the full historical experience.
Exactly.
Of things like that
Exactly.
going on.
That's what we offer here.
So now we are getting set for, I believe, the first place fight for a women's longsword. Let's go ahead and talk about our fighters a little bit before they even come in here. We have Kiana Shurkin, USA, Maryland Kushtes-Becton.
Who is by far one of my favorite fighters to watch. I love watching her. She is phenomenally fast.
Absolutely, and she will be facing Catherine Gramlich, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, of the Wisconsin Historical Defensive Association.
Yeah, one of Aaron's very good fighter. Watching her fight today.
Now,
Absolutely.
for first place in women's longsword, in the red corner, from the Wisconsin Historical Fencing Association of the United States of America, Katie Cromwell. In the blue corner, from Maryland, Kunstfestens in the United States of America, Kiana Shurkin.
Both of these ladies have put on an incredible amount of skill and fence display over this entire week, and I've been tremendously impressed.
Oh, no offense to the gentlemen, but watching the ladies fight, they're technicians. They really do.
Absolutely. And I saw Kiana fence last year in the longsword, and I also saw her fence in sword and buckler. And in sword and buckler, she was a force to be reckoned with. She was taking basic techniques and really applying them in a way that's effective, which is something that really the manuals ascribe to. You only need a handful of techniques to make a complete system that will work for you against a variety of opponents.
This is a rematch from last year.
Is this? That was a good shot. I watched Kiana hit a guy 6 times, and unfortunately, I could only give her credit for the first one. It was that fast. Oh, it was amazing to watch.
Cromlech has really been developing as well over the course of the last year.
We were just making commentary on that effect.
There's the Sverk. It's just so fast. So fast.
3 points blue. Fight.
So a significant lead. Looks like a pair of hand hits. Not sure that Red's hand quality.
Red, score.
To the hand.
1 point red. Fight.
And Cromlech begins clawing her way back up. Feint. Shurkin's not likely to fall for it. Shurkin's a surprisingly conservative fencer.
No, she takes the opportunities given and just uses them very well.
Just like right there.
So fast.
Works beautifully in counter tempo.
She does. It's amazing. She's a blast to watch.
Failure to withdraw from red. Score. 1 point red. Fight.
Red's nothing. Turns over his right after that.
Clean hit for blue. Score.
Clean hit for blue.
Overruled. Hit with the strong. No quality. Fight.
Quality. Hard to get in tight with those Sverhounds. A little bit too close.
Yeah, got to keep the
The
range.
wrong part of the sword. And that's a change from previous years, making sure that fighters are delivering the blow with the part of the sword that is meant to do the most damage.
I think it's an effective change. It eliminates a lot of the confusion in the tight binds, just like that.
A beautiful cut bind, a winging cut under the arm into the ribs of Red, and then a cover on the way out. We have a fire alarm in the building.
So somebody pulled the fire alarm.
Attention. All occupants walk to the nearest stairway.
So the fire alarm has just gone off in our venue. The automatic message is telling us that we need to make our way to
A note to our viewers at home, for an unknown reason, we are being asked to vacate the building momentarily. Please stand by. We will be back on as soon as the hotel staff allows us back in. Thank you.
reacting quickly to that non-emergency. We are now resuming the match where we left off. The last action was recorded. So we have 6 seconds left in the bout. I'm going to communicate that to our live stream audience as well, and then we will begin. Thank you very much for your patience and for your very orderly return to seats at the press.
Okay, guys, so we are back at it. We had an alarm in the building, but everything is fine. We are starting up. Kiana
And Catherine Crammell.
Our guests getting back at it. With 6 seconds left in the fight, they're going to resume.
Right. The score is currently 4-3 in favor of Blue. Blue being
very great attempt at a thrust to the face. I think we're going to call that one.
Clean hit for red. Score.
Clean hit given for the thrust.
3 points red. Fight.
And very quickly.
And Kiana taking it there. It's a great fight.
We're hearing more alarms going off, but it seems like everything is okay. And we're now taking a 30-second break between matches. So round 1 goes to Catherine Gramlich of the Wisconsin Historical Fencing Association.
We're going to see a little bit of this until they reset the alarm system, so bear with us, folks.
Absolutely. We'll still try to bring you highest quality of broadcast that we can.
Player ready? Fight!
It was a close match. Brad Clayton in the lead, 1 win. Shook announced winning both of the next matches to take first. To keep her string to make it 3 years in a row. So a lot of pressure. Both fencers, right leg forward. Somewhere between Freedom and Long Order, the Long Point. Force was the name.
And a great shot. A great shot. Well defended, well placed.
So defense with an Einhorn, a left Einhorn, countered by a low Sverk to the belly.
You notice they're going to feel each other out for that distance, that range of the weapon. Well defended. Yeah, very well defended. And I believe the thrust, I believe there was a thrust by red.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score. 1 point blue. Fight!
Seen red's very obvious hit, but there was one judge at a perfect angle to see that blue had landed a strike to be on first. Instead of counting the number of flags and using essentially a voting system, the director is
Point ball!
both. Big Shirkin's looking up.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score. 1 point blue. Fight!
Once again, way to get out of there.
Open double.
Open double.
Fight!
No attempt to defend by either party. No intersecting lines.
20 seconds left on the clock. The match is 3-0 in favor of Kiana.
Well played.
Very nice exchange.
Couldn't see from my angle if that thrust landed.
Didn't either. Looked like a slice to the wrists afterwards.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score. 1 point blue. Fight!
Coming in, making good hits, and then getting kicked on the way out. It's allowing her to call it slowly. We're also seeing series of new things.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score.
Which means that there's a consistent
Overruled. No quality. Fight!
No points of order and low quality in the blood.
0.
Blue, Shirkin wins the second round.
Buzzer is irrelevant. Thrust was before I called Paul. 3 points red. Second match blue.
So we had some points awarded there at the end, and enough to change the outcome of that particular match. And this, I think, is where the headgear comes in a lot right now. This is it. This is the show, right?
The next match is the one who keeps it together.
Right.
Be aggressive without being foolish, without getting angry.
Exactly. Which I know all too well.
and right now, they're fighting off a kind of adrenaline.
Yes.
Shirkin is just one, and Cromlech, because you just lost, the effect is the same. It's also motor control.
Hey, we're ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah, the hand quake. It's yeah.
Fighter ready? Fighter ready? Fight!
Was it a doubly interesting mental dynamic because the whole pace of the first fight was stopped.
Yes.
Both fighters probing Sprechfenster. Standing more stationary, tempting Cromlech to come to her, potentially move out quickly when he comes in. Cromlech, meanwhile, standing with reverse hand and fire. Coming out from time, and then again, a reversed hand, long edge up, trying to set up that they bind and thrust in for a quick boom shot and strike around. Some incident of blade play, and then looks like Blue's weapon came on Red's wrist. Decision amongst the judges.
I'm just gonna wave that off.
Now it looks like two of the judges agree, but that no decision means that the director felt
Exactly. Wash it out and go again.
1 point blue. Fight!
Blue wins the lead, significant psychological. 44 seconds. 1 point for Blue.
Judges!
The rush from underneath.
And a nice finish would have been a cult.
Close double. One
Close
for
double.
red, one for Blue.
Fight!
Closed double was called.
And the closed double is a double hit that's along intersecting lines. So it's not that sloppy open kind of thing. To do the range.
Or a defended position.
Clean hit for red. Score.
Wave gun clean hit.
1 point red.
It looks like they're deciding
Fight!
to thrust to chest it up.
Yes, it certainly was. And tempo after the halt. Kind of strike.
Once you're using it or a tiny bit of attention to the hands.
There are 10 seconds left on the clock. Both of them playing very carefully.
This may go to sudden death. 5
So
seconds
sudden
left.
death is exceptionally exciting.
And they decide to go to sudden death.
Sudden death!
That's the way to do it, actually.
Sudden death is different because now it has to be on a clean
Clean hits.
Wins.
Failures to withdraw, double hits, none of that will end the match.
And this can get very tiring.
It also means that we're most likely to see this result in a hand hit. Cromlech getting active, trying to provoke a response.
Keona's playing it cool.
Point
An excellent attempt, but I think we're going to see a failure withdrawal.
Failure to withdraw.
Fight!
Shirkin, letting Cromlech come to her. It's a risky strategy to let your opponent have the center of the ring. But if you want them to come to you, you have to.
And I think we're going to see again another failure.
Not clean point.
Fight! And get out quickly, decisively.
And yeah, you're right with Keona keeping herself to the edge of the ring. It may limit her slightly. That looks like it could be it. Yeah, we've got this, yeah.
What did you see? I saw a close double, I saw intersecting lines, and both hit at the same time, within tempo. Where is it? Red hit blue on the neck, blue hit red on the chest.
Not clean point.
He had a good view. The judge had the good view.
And by my estimation, I had a similar angle, and I think that was the right call.
Judges.
That looks like a clean hit for red.
Lead point for red. Match red.
There you go. Great fight. I just love watching it fight. It's
Now, as we prepare for the open longsword, we return to some of our sponsors. Comfort Fencing, Polish company, makes gloves, including gloves that we just like any ground equipment. We have aluminum, steel, and corrugated components, so a modern take on the gauntlet.
correct.
Also, they provided a fetter, a Comfort Fencing fetter. It's really one of the most popular, most sought after longsword feathers in the market right now. It has a balanced September and general feel, which is very refined. I think it's one of the most refined longsword fencing weapons.
Yeah. It's coming out. It's making its own. It's a very nice weapon. It's nice to handle.
Well, the Dobringer Comfort Fencing Fetter was my first choice when my Mac Fetter broke after many years of use, as swords often do. My choice was I'm going to go for the Comfort Fencing. So that's what I personally use whenever I have to bring my own steel to a longsword tournament.
The gloves are pretty enjoyable too. I do like what they're doing.
All right, so Josh, why don't you tell us something? Destroyer mods. Tell us what that's all about.
Destroyer mods. Destroyer mods is basically I like to tinker and make my own stuff because as you know, the sport is growing and we're trying to find our own way into proper equipment. And so in that, I started making my own equipment. Everyone liked it, so we went ahead and kind of filled in the gaps of what's not really available to us, just with the manipulation of fencing equipment. And so it's and you guys know I love this stuff. This is my passion.
So the things that Destroyer Mods is making right now, they're kind of making waves. So first the gloves.
Yeah, the glove modification, which is absolute force and red. I took peanut butter and put it in their chocolate, and I fabricated my own pieces and pretty much made a really. I'm not fighting it. I know you fabricate. Yeah, a lot of guys want to fight it. Yeah. So then the 82nd mod, the back of the head protection, just really not adequate for the stuff we have. My mods are lighter. No digs on anybody's equipment. We have equipment, but I'm just trying to make it a little better, a little faster, a little more for us, as a community.
Well, and it's good for more people in the community to have choices.
Exactly.
Sparring gloves. So sparring gloves have been for years now the go-to glove for longsword fencing. I think it was sparring gloves and that really made open competitive longsword fencing even possible.
Right. I mean, we've all got to play piano tomorrow, So I mean, that's the thing.
Another design that started by young Lukevich and now made by Barbara Pavlovska, who's actually the sister of Shimon Pavlovsky, who makes swords. But these come in a mitten form. They come in a three-finger, sort of a hoof form.
Cloven, yeah.
Right, exactly. And because the fingers are together, it's severe protection across the fingers from the models. And one of the things that has really impressed me about sparring gloves over the years is how they continue to adapt and update their designs. So the sparring gloves that we see fighters using now aren't the same ones that I had my last time or even before that.
Right. They evolve as necessary. It's good to keep a finger on the pulse of what the fighters want and fighters need. I mean, and that's important because we can't, like I said, got to use the hands.
Speaking of fighters' needs,
Purple Heart.
Purple Heart is they're the granddaddy of HEMA suppliers.
It's my favorite.
They've been supplying stuff to the HEMA community before it was even called the HEMA community.
Yeah.
Grown with it.
Just wonderful people, wonderful products, innovators. I mean, just amazing stuff. I fight with it. I always fight with it.
In the past, Purple Heart's provided a lot of equipment that we actually use here in the tournament.
Right.
And the nature of this year's events, less so. And yet they continue to really provide a lot for the events.
Support
They
and just
provided prizes for every tournament in the U.S. And their support is absolutely fantastic. I feel like they're on a first-name basis with everyone.
Everybody. They are. Just great people.
So now that we have concluded women's longsword, we are going to now move along to men's longsword.
Open.
Yes, I'm sorry, pardon me, open longsword. open longsword. So we're now about to see our third and fourth place fight.
We got Axel.
And we will wait for 1 moment while the names are read. Jake Norwood enters the center of the ring and announces our third and fourth place fight.
Now we come to our final event, the open steel long sword. The fighters you see tonight rose to the top of over 100 fighters from across the world, including some of the absolute top fencers in the world from the United States, Europe, Canada, and Mexico. As for the women's longsword, they will be fighting 3 90-second rounds. In the red corner, from the Gothenburg Historical Fencing School in Sweden, last year's champion, Axel Pettersson.
You can hear the crowd cheer.
Absolutely. School in the United States of America, Ben Floyd.
So,
your director remains Mr. Michael Ellison.
I have been looking forward to this fight
Like
all day.
there's too much to say, right?
There's too much to be said about both of these fighters. Axel is an incredibly accomplished longsword competitor, all-around hematologist on both sides of the Atlantic.
Exactly.
Ben Floyd, also an incredibly skilled
Tactician, technician, just yes, it's gonna be a great fight.
Super involved in the United States HEMA community as the current sitting president of the HEMA
Alliance, exactly. And you're going to see a really great fight. Axel loves to get in on tall guys, and Ben is a tall guy. This is going to be great.
This is a match that didn't happen last year.
With the leg injury, correct?
Right. Ben Floyd was dominating Longpoint last year. He had the highest indicator scores by a wide margin. And was really probably the guy I think was going to end up fighting Axel in the final.
Yeah.
And so this is an exciting opportunity for both of those fighters to find out how that might have gone.
Exactly. And then Ben was injured in the excellent hit. Ben was injured in the Ringen competition.
Right, correct. And so he had to drop out of the longsword competition.
Also in the he was also for the Messer, wasn't he? I believe so. Yeah. Kyle stepped in. Yeah, Ben was dominating.
It's great to see Ben back on his front legs,
moving
coming
well
out again.
And that is Axel getting in.
Axel executing a very good failure feint on Ben, provoking
Forcing Ben to raise his hand too.
Taking the low line.
Now the risk for Axel for playing this high-low game, which works so well against tall fighters, is that Ben is one of the fighters who scores more control points than any other fighter.
If he gets tangled, Ben can take the control out of him.
Exactly. And so we could look at 3, 4, and 5 points of Axel in a row, and then flip that advantage in a single blow.
And that long reach of his is going to be able to thrust in on Axel.
26 seconds, 2-0 red.
Yeah, Axel's just that fast in the low line.
Axel wants this. He wants it very, very badly. No doubt Ben does as well. This is also, to me, more technical than He's doing some better round. He's relying less on his height. And I think he has
Nice going in. Now what we saw there was it was a really nice thrust, but without failure to withdraw and there no defense.
Ben almost had the control.
Yeah.
Ben exits with a
Single-handed
cut there.
Failure to withdraw for blue. Score.
But a guy Ben's size, the sword almost looks like a messer.
3, 2 red, 5 seconds.
Oh, an excellent move by Ben.
Was that clean or double? Looks like a clean double.
I would call it double.
I would agree with that shot. Double. Agree with that. Open double.
3 seconds enough if Ben wants to take this.
2
Ben's
seconds.
going in. 1 second.
Couldn't see from my angle if the thrust landed.
That's beautiful.
It looks like Axel,
Beautiful.
according to the judge's estimation, was able to strike as a counter.
1 point red. First match, red. Third second red.
Axel takes the first round.
So both of these fighters fencing with such incredible speed. The judges are doing a really great job keeping up with what they're seeing happen in front of them.
And then, like I said, that is a tough place to be. I wouldn't.
I do not envy the position
No.
of judges. I've line judged in
It's
tournaments
so-
before.
Yeah.
I've line judged in tournaments before, and it is not, an easy job to do. And the more people who take on judging as responsibility in their own club, in tournaments at local events, the better the whole community can
The
become.
better the judging, the better the tournaments. Yes, absolutely.
The more satisfied people feel leaving a tournament.
Here they go. They've only been working out for 90 seconds. They're tired. So much adrenaline, so much energy. Axel moving around. Nothing for you. Comfortable. Trying to take the center of the ring.
Solid shot. Excellent defense. Oh, wonderful. Beautiful play. Beautiful play.
Fantastic
Did he play
exchange.
the effort? Looks like he did. He was brought successfully.
Outstanding.
1 point to the arm. Landed below the shoulder. What a fantastic exchange.
Axel feeling Ben out. See if he can provoke an action.
I feel like Axel's trying to set up that body thrust, either for that 3 or that 6 points. He wants a more comfortable lead.
Ben sitting in Einhorn,
Reverse.
moving to Ox.
Well played, but a failure to
Failure to respond to the blue fighter.
1 point blue.
1 point. 2-0 blue with 1 minute remaining.
excellent.
Or just the initial hit.
I believe they're going to say that after. Wonderful, good
It
call.
was 2 fencing tempos. Axel's blow came 2 fencing tempos, 2 steps after. So Ben coming back very strongly. 45 seconds left on the clock.
A great thrust.
Clean shot.
And I would agree with that.
There's a clean bind. Within the bind.
And the thrust was successful and on target.
Gorgeous. I'm gonna call it, I believe, on section. About 6 points for Axel. That's the lead he wanted.
Ben attempting a single hand using the reach.
Judges said that it landed, but they didn't get out in time. Blood's been doing a lot of those today. 6-4 red. 35 seconds
Ben is
remaining.
going to
6-4
come in
red.
strong. He has nothing to lose in this.
Axel returning the favor.
30 seconds left on the clock. 6-4 in favor of red fighter. Axel Patterson. Axel slips under the line, delivers a middle pound to Ben Floyd's belly. 1 point delivered to red. Axel Patterson.
20 seconds remaining.
Axel Patterson trying to.
That looked like a thrust to the torso.
Clean hit for red. Score. 3 points red.
If Axel gets one more clean point, that's an automatic win. So 10-4.
Coming to a clinch.
So what's going to happen now is Axel has so much of a lead.
With 9 seconds left.
He's got so much of it, he's going to try things. Part of his personal journey right now is trying things he hasn't been able to do before. He's very simply right now. Even a control point will only try it. So he's going to try some things that he's not had a chance to do earlier
He
today.
does some great stuff too. With the half hand, half sorting, he does some really unique stuff that he brings into the boss vector. It's really cool stuff.
Well, and instead from causing this game to be riskier, I think it's improving this game.
Yes, it is. And could technically be a ring out as well, but
They will call it first strike.
Challenge to withdraw for red. Score.
1 point
1
red.
point red.
That will not end the match though, even though it's a 7-point lead, because it's not clean.
Clean hit.
Point. Halt. Judges.
Parry, strike, maybe to the arms. Judges
No
are
decision.
unsure of what.
Winner.
with that.
Red.
Third place. Bronze, Longpoint2015 with the long sword, Axel Pepperson. The Dutch fighter who's making quite a name has actually beaten Axel in 2 previous tournaments, but lost to him earlier today.
Yeah, Tisa's an impressive fighter. Very athletic.
So now we bring you to
The pièce de résistance.
the pièce de résistance, the last fight of the evening.
Yeah, this is going to be wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, our final fight of the evening. For first place in open steel long sword, in the red corner, from the Redlands Fencing Center in the United States of America, Mr. Dustin Ringen. In the blue corner, from the Triangle Sword Guild, also in the United States of America, Mr. Ben Strickling.
Great fight. It's going to be a great fight. And here's more of that camaraderie I'm talking about. This is Dustin Ringen defeated Axel Pedersen.
They will be fighting 3 90-second rounds.
Coach him through
Their
the
director remains Mr. Michael Edelson.
The camaraderie, the brotherhood, the lifting up of the art form that is really the most primary concern, I think, to all the fighters here.
It really is. It's fantastic. It's just
Now, Ben Strickland was actually here, I believe, last year, fighting for first in the open steel long sword at Longpoint. And he is just such a skill fan. This is the other fight that I've been looking forward to all day long.
Oh, Dustin's a machine. He's just. Do you want to talk about technician?
These are 2 of America's best fighters. And I think what's so exciting here is that history is literally being made. This is the first time at Longpoint, and really in a large open steel long sword tournament at all. That an American will win first place.
I was going to let you have the honor of saying that because I was like, America.
In a tournament that not only has a couple of high-level Europeans, but many high-level Europeans.
Yeah. Just a great showing, and it's just, it's about damn time.
Well, I think the American fighters have been really working to rise to this challenge. I think in a somewhat controversial blog post I published after Purple Heart this last year, I commented that in order for American fencers to start winning our own tournaments, we have to work hard. These 2 guys are 2 of the hardest working, hardest training fencers in the Western Hemisphere, and it is paying off.
Well, we were talking earlier, Dustin's video series that he does, his cutting, is just a phenomenal swordsman.
And Dustin is almost certain going to win the tryout this year.
Yeah.
That hasn't been decided yet. They're still working out the numbers. But to take second place in a wrestling event, to take first place in cutting, and first or second in open longsword, I don't know if I can see how he could not win and be Longpoint's top champion.
Well deserved, though, man. Well deserved.
And Dustin exemplifies what the triathlon is all about.
That's exactly what it is.
Demonstration of the art in a single fight.
Beautiful thrust right under the hilt to the hand.
Nice.
1 point red.
1 point red. One judge called control, but the blow is to the hand. It is now 4-2 red with 36 seconds remaining. If Dustin wins this, it will be the first time that he has won. It will be the first time that he has won an open longsword tournament, despite being one of these great fencers.
And Dustin took a really solid shot to the guts.
Failure to withdraw for red.
Winded.
1 point red.
Okay, Ben coming over to see, make sure Dustin's fine. Dustin seems to have had the wind knocked out of him a little bit.
It was a hell of a shot.
Ben Strickling is an incredibly strong fighter. And having been hit by him myself a few times, I can tell you, it's an emotional experience. Beautiful hand strike, but with a revenge strike. One judge feels that the revenge strike was out of time. The other was in. I think failure to withdraw was the right call. It's off angle, double hit, or failure to withdraw. What are they going to call?
Double, fight! Keep it up, 15 seconds, Dustin, 6-2.
6-2 red, 15 seconds remain. Strickling really fishing that point in there.
Yeah. Almost forcing the ring out with the thrust.
Score! 1 point blue.
Strickling.
Fight!
So the 6-3 favoring Dustin Ringen, Ben Strickling could tie it up with a thrust.
Oh, excellent maneuver by Dustin. Excellent thrust.
Outlined and thrust from Dustin Ringen.
I'm looking for control on that. That was.
I think you're not going to give it control because
the blade contact.
Strickling's blade came out and did
Gotcha.
Right. Was it
Excellent.
attempted again? First round, 9-3 red. A dominating display by Dustin Ringen.
You almost said Axel.
I did. Almost. You get used to it. Yeah, whatever. but we've got Dustin now.
That's awesome.
So our fighters having a 30-second breather with 10 seconds left on the clock before we resume the match with the second round.
In Ben's corner, Casper Anderson, who previously competed and won in the wrestling. And in Dustin's corner, Axel Pedersen. Dustin comes from a small club, has very few training partners, and so often sort of borrows coaches. But because of the caliber of fencer he is, his borrowed coaches are often the best fighters in the world.
Really good fencers. We were just saying about the same thing, the camaraderie between guys, that Axel was defeated by Dustin and gets back in his corner and helps him through this.
And it's not the same thing with Axel, with Teese coaching him.
Exactly.
Judges. Close double.
Close double. No points on the board. Minute 16 remain.
Great exchange.
I snuck one on. It was a thrust to the shoulder, I believe.
Did he sneak one? I didn't see.
Big hit for red. Score.
It was target.
I think they're trying to decide if it was a thrust or maybe a strike under the arms, something along those lines, right?
What I saw was the thrust, and I believed it was in target area. And humble opinion, 3-point exchange.
3-point exchange, but again, it's such a big decision.
Yes, it
want
is.
to make sure it's the right decision.
One point red. Fight.
1 point red. 1-0.
Oh, and Dustin blows through the guard to make contact.
Big hit for red. Score. 1 point red.
One of the most difficult things about fencing, Dustin, he was in my pool, my first fight, as a matter of fact, in the open steel, and he absolutely rolled me because he's such an incredibly technical fighter, but the fact that he's left-handed changes the symmetry of how the blades engage so much.
Absolutely.
But that last strike to the right shoulder Strickland illustrates that with a right to right fencer, you have a symmetry, and the lines can be the same, but if you have a left to
The
right,
southpaws can
Well, one of Dustin's strategies, he's used this against me, is he'll often be
Excellent cross one.
that
You may see control on this end. Yeah, there's the control. Very much so.
6 points red.
Excellent exchange.
and that will
It's Matt Shredder.
There you go. All right, man. That's the way to end it.
That is Dustin Rigen's first longsword win, and the largest longsword tournament in the world this year.
How do you not end it like that, though?
phenomenal.
Dustin.
That's what this rule set was meant to draw out. That's what we want to see.
I love this rule set.
One of the best demonstrations of technical fencing in a final fight ever. And Dustin Ringen, America. Ben Strickling, phenomenal display. Two of my favorite fences to watch. What an incredible match.
That was great. That was just great.
What an incredible night for Dustin Ringen. It's a fighter who mentioned to me that he was considering retiring after this year. I think he's going to reconsider.
Or go out on top, sir.
Go out on flying colors, perhaps? I certainly hope not. I hope we haven't seen
No, I want to
the
see him
last
fight
of Dustin
forever.
Reagan. You know, I will start the crowdfunding campaign to keep Dustin Reagan in tournaments.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That was a beautiful way.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very, very much for joining us tonight for the finals of Longpoint 2015. What you have witnessed here tonight is a historic event. For one thing, Dustin Reagan finally won an open longsword tournament. Long overdue. Long overdue. Second, this is the first time that a major open longsword tournament in the United States, which has been attended by skilled European fencers, has ever been won by an American. I want to thank those Europeans that traveled very, very far at great personal expense, who are exhausted, who have worked so hard for their performance, for their incredible sportsmanship, and for the incredible, incredible showing that they gave us this weekend. I will do a lot more of this at dinner, but I also want to thank all of the people who made this possible, especially our staff. And finally, I want to thank all of you for coming, for cheering, for fighting, for helping, for supporting the other fighters. You make something like this on this scale possible. Without you, it absolutely could not be done. Thank you so much. Now, I understand that we attempted to move dinner to 8:30. Can I confirm that that is the case? That is not the case? What? 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 It is not. Dinner will be at 8 o'clock in the Cameo room in half of an hour. So, run and clean up. See you in 30 minutes. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a wrap for us.
I certainly think so. It's certainly been a pleasure.
That was awesome.
Incredible amount of fencing here tonight, and what a great thing to have seen Dustin Reagan take first. Especially Ben Strickland gave a wonderful fight. I think it was just absolutely incredible what we were able to see here this evening. It's what keeps us coming back. because my leg is more comfortable with, this thing weighs a ton. I don't want to wear a shoe if I don't have to. So she was texting me, she's like, you don't go on national television